The theme for this collection is going to be resurrection and love. So I want this one to be a little bit happier. I don't know if the colors are going to be happier necessarily, but definitely the overall feeling should be. So right now I'm just making these bases to start getting ideas from here, or start sketching them rather. So I'm gonna find one picture that is something that we can work from a happy moment. And this is kind of like my thought process. This picture I took from the Copper Hewitt Museum here in New York on the first date with my husband. I think this one would be a good starting point. So we have some sort of visor, right? So we can do something like that. And it has this thing in the center that goes all the way back. But from the perspective that I normally show my pieces, which is really frontal, it would be just a line, right? So that wouldn't work. So maybe we can make it more like a diamond shape. Maybe you can integrate a little bit more here. And since my pieces are usually a little bit more organic, then let's make it less geometric, more angular. This is how I usually start. I just go and review the different moments in my life and things that brought me a special feeling, and then I'll just play with that. It's just a starting point. It is just using that one moment and that one picture as inspiration. It has some elements hanging down. I don't know if I like that, but the other model has like a little neck thing. So maybe we can do that. And this process that I'm doing right now is just to come up with the overall feeling of the whole set. So we have big shoulders, we have the neck thing, we have the visor. And in this case, we could do either the empty helmet that I do sometimes, or I could do the skull. And I think in this case, maybe the skull would make it look more interesting. So we have a sort of like a starting point. It is definitely more dramatic than what I've done for the other sets. I'm just gonna put a pin on this particular design and wait to see if we come up with something that gives us like a better idea of where this is going. This could be where the eyes go. And another one over here, and then the transcendence spheres over here. I mean, right? It's something. It's an idea. Let's find another picture. Okay, so we have this, and this is an interesting concept because it actually kind of matches what I'm doing. Back in that day is when I was getting heavily inspired by Bill Ellis. He makes a lot of like religious imagery with skulls, like that's his thing. And I was working with skulls as well, so I ended up finding his work, and I started taking some inspiration from him. I actually talked to him at that point, and I confessed my interest in his work and how it helped me get inspired to start my own journey. And I think that you can tell that it ended up being different at the end. And that's something that as an artist you always do. I think you just take inspiration from different sources. You absorb different ideas, concepts that you have done in the past, or that other artists have done, or that like details and materials, etc. And when you put them together, you end up coming up with something that is truly uniquely yours because you're adding your own flair to it, which is similar to what we did with this other one. If we go back to the other picture that is the inspiration, you see that this comes from a design that has like this huge headpiece, and like it's super dramatic. And yes, the powers is dramatic too, or mine is dramatic too, but like it just takes some elements from it and then they are transforming into a portrait kind of language, which is what I've been doing for my work with other projects. I am taking someone else's creative framework and just taking some elements just as inspiration. I like the top part of this headpiece of the skull, but I don't like the whole thing. So maybe I will just take that part and just maybe add some of the spikes there. It's kind of like a mix between my brain subconsciously picking a particular image that resonates in a way, but it also is actively finding the connection as I'm doing the illustration. Because for instance, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I can add the needles, right, to the headband. Well, yes, but why is that? Because recently I've been experiencing very annoying anxiety and stress related headaches. And I don't know if you have already caught this part so far, but the reason why I do needles on my pieces, or what they represent, is like different pains related to anxiety. I suffer from let's just say that it's stress related anxiety. So this anxiety shows up in different ways, but like one of the most scary and like difficult like ways that it has shown is through like the feeling of like needles all over my chest, especially in the center, which was like really scary at first. So as I'm getting this inspiration and I'm tracing these sketches, I start immediately having a connection to something that actually happened. So in this case, it's a little bit of a helmet, but it's like a, you know, how in like mental centers, they will put like this band on your head and they will give you like these charges, right, on your brain. This is kind of what I'm feeling from this particular piece. So the interpretation that I'm giving is that, okay, this is like a leather piece on the original one that I'm using as inspiration, but for my interpretation, I think I'm just gonna do like a metal one, or maybe I can try to go for leather. That will be interesting. But it's more like a helmet, and it's going to have these floating pieces, but the needles are going to be probably like the prominent thing.